Book 46 of 2019 was Suicide Club by Rachel Heng. This book was in Waterstones on the same shelf as Handmaid's Tale, Vox, The Power. Were kind of like Vox and The Power are similar to Handmaid's Tale in the sense of like a matriarchy, patriarchy, and how that flips. Like obviously The Power's patriarchy and matriarchy, and the other two are Vox and Handmaid's Tale are patriarchy, and kind of like feminism and all that kind of stuff. This one's more about kind of how a government can affect your life, which is what basically most dystopian kind of literature is, that I like anyway. I'm thinking of like, you know, like Hunger Games or like Divergent. You know, there's always kind of some kind of government in control of how people live their lives. Very kind of Orwellian, like 1984, like Animal Farm, like all kind of things like that. Really, really interesting for that reason. This is really good because it's kind of a sciencey fiction slant on it, which again I love. Not alien spacey, but like kind of like in the future technology kind of based. The idea is that it gets to a time in the world when you can pretty much live forever. Not really forever, but for a very, very long time if you're lucky. So people who are not very lucky or don't have a lot of money or poor will probably live a usual human life, so will die before they're 100. Whereas if you are lucky, you know, your genetics are how the government want them to be, then you can live, if you're unlucky, until you're 140. If you're very lucky, you can live till, you know, you're 300 or whatever, and they keep updating kind of technology so that you will live longer. And it's all through kind of like medicine, so like they've replaced like blood so that it like self-heals, and you know, you can basically shut yourself off a building and you can get things replaced and repaired. So you can't really die, even if you want to. And this is why it's called Suicide Club. But I'll get to that in a minute. Leah, who's the main character, she's kind of this person who has been taught to always do everything right, because basically if you don't follow the rules, you'll be called an anti-sank, I think it's called, and then you can't get upgrades and you can't then, you know, live forever. So you're controlled by this kind of want to keep living, which, you know, if you think about it, like you would want to keep living, wouldn't you? So you'd want to follow the rules so that you could get upgraded, so that you could carry on living, you could carry on with your family and whatever. So it's this kind of control over people. And it kind of like mimics or like alludes to what it's kind of like in what's it called, like I want to say NHS because obviously I'm from England, but like medical situations where only people who've got money can like get medical care. It's kind of like alluding to that a little bit, because in the future of this book it's kind of like if you don't have the money then you die earlier than everybody else. And the way society changes is because everybody who's got money lives longer. If you want to get like a career that pays a lot of money, it takes like 20 years to graduate. And obviously if you're not going to live very long, then by the time you graduate you die anyway. So it's almost like everything in society is structured so that it benefits the rich. It benefits the people that do everything by the book and follow the rules. So it becomes a very unjust and unfair society. So it brings up a lot of things about ethics. It gets absolutely ridiculous because it's like you can't go running because then that's damage on your joints. So you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to open windows because the air's not like completely like fresh. You can't eat normal food because it'll put pressure on the digestive system. So you've got to like basically eat like blended food that are in these Nutri-Packs, which isn't even food, it's just like chemicals to like make you live longer. So it's like you have to do all these weird things to kind of like stay healthy. So you imagine like, you know, all these people who have like kale smoothies and ridiculous things like that to like be healthy. Like imagine that like on, I was gonna say like on drugs, but that kind of like takes away my actual metaphor because it doesn't make any sense, but basically like ramp that up to kind of absolutely ridiculous proportions, and that's the kind of life that they live in this world. And if you don't follow what they're doing, you become what's called anti-sync, then you can't get upgrades to your organs and things if you get damaged or if you get old. And then there's like a black market where you can get like a new heart. So it's like a mechanical heart that kind of beats, but it's like made of real tissue and stuff. But like what can happen is you can become misaligned, so like your heart, say, will last longer than the rest of your body. So the rest of your body will die, but your heart will keep beating until the day that it goes until. And similarly with other organs and whatever, so you can end up kind of like being a massive burden on your family and things because you're still living, but like you're dead, like it's just part of you that's living, which it kind of draws into the question as well of, so the ethics of when someone is dead, like which part of them has to die before they're dead. So that was really interesting. It doesn't really kind of explain these things, go into detail about them, but the fact that it's presented in the way that it is gets you to question it yourself, which I thought was very clever of Heng, to incorporate that into the story. And then it says that, you know, if families don't want to take care of these like people that are misaligned, they go to farms and like they get kind of like chopped up and fed, like basically recycled into like machines so that they can create new like bits of other people that they put onto them. It's, yeah, it's kind of like a very dystopic like plot, which I love. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. It's good because it brings it into kind of, so, oh, that's what I was going to talk about. So Suicide Club. So obviously with any kind of like overarching powerful government, it's almost like this is like a Jungian archetype. There's always like a revolution, there's always a rumbling of people who disagree with it, naturally, and who want to bring about social change, and that's what the Suicide Club are kind of doing. They're committing, they found a way to commit suicide, which is absolutely horrific, so that they can't be regenerated and then they can actually die. And by they basically record it and show it to everybody. I'm not spoiling anything because this is like the first page that it talks about this, and there's a whole kind of like section of people. But because, you know, if you get affiliated with the Suicide Club, you get watched, and it's all very kind of like 1984. So it's really, really good. I am very fussy about my dystopian literature and find it very, very difficult to find books that match up to things like 1984 and Handmaid's Tale, and in terms of how horrific it is and how it makes you like worry. This one does that, and it's not heavy either, which the other ones are heavy and you're left at the end thinking like, oh my god, but this one's not heavy, which is very clever. Like, Rachel Heng is very clever because she's got things in there that make you think, but it doesn't leave you depressed at the end of it. Well, yeah, it doesn't, because it doesn't, I think the reason why it doesn't do that is because the book ends, but you know that the story's still continuing. It's not come to a close or a climax or whatever, which I think other ones do. I mean, obviously Handmaid's Tale doesn't really do that. That does end in the middle as well, but you know that that's going to be horrific and it's not going to end well. Just spat everywhere then. Whereas this one, it kind of looks a little bit like it might be okay. I don't know actually if there's going to... I think this is a new book, or is it not? I don't know, because I'm trying to think. It leaves it open for another book, I think, of a similar ilk. Obviously perhaps not with the same character, but it could carry on. Yeah, it's a new one, so like paperback in 2019. So yeah, I'd really recommend that if you like dystopia, and particularly if you like kind of like technology dystopia as well, because it was really good. Yeah.